Hi, welcome to WNBC News, and today we have a very special literature section that we're going to share with you. We're going to have 4 different authors come in from the stories that we've picked out ourselves, and they're going to tell you about where they're from, how they came up with the story, and basically the central theme. So, moving on to our first interview, Tom, over to you. Thank you. And now we're back for our main interview. So, who do we have with here today? Hi, John. Actually, it's so neat. My name is also John Milton. So, John Milton. So tell me about who you are and where you're from. Thank you. So I'm a Renaissance writer, and basically we have a lot of things going on in the Renaissance at the time. Humanism, revitalization of Christianity, a bunch of different things going together. So I feel like my work, Paradise Lost, has really hit that home and made sure that it emphasizes the values of Christianity, but also the direct idea of good versus evil. Wow, John, you read my mind on that next question. All right, so now that we've gone over the context, give me a brief overview of the story and what the bigger theme is. So, thank you for asking that question, John. I was about to go right into that. So, the basic overall theme of the story, as I've said it before, is the idea of good versus evil and the dynamic that lives there. Basically, we see God versus Satan, which is the very, very essence of what good versus evil is. And so, we see that Satan himself is tossed out of heaven, and God himself stands up there and makes sure that he can't come out, once separating good and now the birth of evil. Thank you, Mr. Milton, for that overview and what it really means to begin good versus evil. Now, tell me why today we're still talking about this and why it has affected the time period so greatly. All right, John, thank you so much. So basically, we're still talking about this today because the struggle between good versus evil is never ending. It will always be there. And we see from the Renaissance period especially, humanism, different forms of satire, and other things like that still affect our daily lives. And that's why it's so important that I portray this and that other people understand the main theme that we're pointing to. And a lot of times we can see these reoccurring themes in other literary works. I'm sure you'll see some of those today. Thank you, John, and thank you for being our primary interview. All right, next interview. Thank you. All right, and so who do we have here with us on our first interview?
I'm Chaucer.
All right, so just tell us a little about where you're from and who you are.
Well, I'm from the Renaissance era, and I was on a pilgrimage with my buddies, and one of my favorite tales that I would like to talk today about is The Wife of Bath. Really good tale, about my time period.
Okay, so give us a little bit of context about your time period now we're on the subject.
Well, the Renaissance is all about rebirth, all the new things coming in, and, just new societal pressures coming in as well.
All right, so as we know already, the story of The Wife of Bath's tale, give us the bigger theme surrounding the story.
Well, it's about the societal good versus evil battle that, it's always been going on since the beginning of time. And the Wife of Bath in her tale describes a knight who's trying to be good but gets consumed by evil, and just an all-around tumbling story of whole. The Wife of Bath represents how vanity, satire, and humanism play a role in how the Renaissance society worked. The Wife of Bath allows others to really feel how we felt in this era and what our good and evils were in society. So,
thank you so much for having us.
Nice
I really
to meet
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you. Now we're back. Welcome. This is our third interview. And so, tell me a little about yourself and the story that you wrote.
I'm Alexander Pope, and I wrote Rape of the Lock, and it really just shows how the Restoration period, how silliness has entered the world, how she gets so obsessive over cutting one lock of her hair. I mean, it shows how vanity and the social status of this time period really took over the goodness of people, and it turned them more towards evil things, and it's still just going with that struggle of good versus evil, man.
All right, and so tell us why this is affecting us today and how it looks at a larger picture of life.
It comes with us today because people still get obsessed over those societal pressures and those societal good versus evils in the world, and it just also shows how in the Restoration era, how it really was, man, how he kept it real.
Thank you. So now that we've had the Rape of the Lock, we're going to move on to one of our older yet very important interviews. All right, so this is our fourth interview, and today we have a very special interview. See, this is a story called The Dream of the Rood, and back in the time period, it was an oral story, so we don't know much about the author or authors if there was many. So today we have the story in essence with us. Now, story in essence, tell us basically who you are and where you're from in the time period.
I am called Andy Nomus, and I am from the Anglo-Saxon time, and my original roots come back all the way to Jesus' crucifixion.
Thank you, that was awesome. So now, give us a little bit of context of the story and a brief overview of what happens in it.
Well, basically, the story is about the journey of the cross itself, or the Rood, and it's basically just how it struggles with all the persecution in Rome, and how it overcomes it by the glory of God, and it really, really represents that good versus evil battle.
So what's the bigger theme? So tell us about what the Rood represents versus society, as you would say.
Well, society in this is kind of they're persecuting the Rood, which is good, which is the cross that Jesus crucified on and, redeemed everyone's sins. And the people in society are overcome by their evilness and are just taking advantage of the good.
And so why is this still important in our time?
It's still important to our time because it really represents how society ignores the good things in life and goes to the evil things because it might be easier or it's what everyone else is doing.
All right, thank you. Hi, and thank you. Now that we're back in the studio, we have a very special interview at this very end, kind of a bonus we've thrown in there for y'all. In the flesh here, we have the professor, Mrs. Beard. So tell us how you feel after seeing all these interviews about what you've seen, and give us your expertise, insight on what you've heard.
Well, my thesis is that throughout several works in British literature written before the 19th century, the ideals of vanity, satire, and humanism are represented to emphasize the struggle of good versus evil. In Paradise Lost, God and Satan set into motion the initial good versus evil battle, which ripples on throughout history.
Thank you. And I very much, I agree with your statements there. I feel like as a total and as a whole, we can see with continuity with all these different pieces of literature, the main struggle and the main theme that we see between all of this and my analysis is that it is good versus evil. And I know that we've said this a lot today, but it really does drive that point home that, you see the wife of Bath in her story, and then you see Satan versus God. This is all a struggle between what is good, that was perceived as society, of course, versus what is evil, whether it be emotional or mental or societal or physical even. And we always see that go through time, starting back from Adam and Eve and also until today. So thank you so much for coming with us. I very much appreciate it. And thank you for all the other authors that were here to join us tonight. And We'll see you next time.